Alright guys, this is going to be a real quick tutorial on the race line for Concord Speedway. Now, what I would like to do is show you an out lap starting from the pits. We're going to watch 6 full speed race laps. I complete my fastest lap on lap 6 with a 17:390, I believe. And then we'll go back and dissect that lap and talk about our entry points, our points of reference, where we let off the gas, where we get back on the gas, so on and so forth. So I'd like to watch this first lap. I'm sorry, the first 6 laps, and we'll talk about it after they're complete. So here we go. Okay. That was my fast lap. So what I'd like to do is we're going to back up 1 lap and we're going to talk about my entry and exit points again. So when you come out of turn 4, you need to be as close to this wall as possible. The first point that we're going to look for is the end of this guardrail. So when we cross the start finish line, it should be between 88 and 89 miles an hour. And we're going to start to turn in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts on this guardrail. So as you can see, we've started our turn in. We're still full throttle until the end of this guardrail comes out of our picture. So frame by frame, guardrail's out of the picture, and I've started letting off. So the next point we're going to look for when we're turning in is this yellow line down here at the bottom. You don't want to get down here where the track is flat. You want to straddle this yellow line and come back up to the center of the track. Now, as we approach this yellow line, we're going to start picking back up the throttle. We're not going to go from no throttle to full throttle. We're going to push up. We're going to spin. We're going to hit the bumps. Totally defeats the purpose of looking for speed and our race line. So, frame by frame, we start to approach the yellow line. I've started to roll back on the throttle. We're going to follow this yellow line around until the track kind of opens up a little bit, and then we're going to let the car just drift up to the center of the track. Now, my next point that I'm looking for is the end of that yellow line. By the time I get to that yellow line, I want to try and be full throttle. Now, I know in this demonstration I'm a little late. There's full throttle, and I've already passed it. So those are, uh, well, I should say that's my goal. By the time I get to the end of that yellow line, without having a lot of wheel input, I want to be full throttle by the time I get to the end of that yellow line. So as we continue, like I said, we're going to let the car drift up to the center of the track. We're not going to try to force it down. We're not going all the way up to this wall. We're going to stay about the middle of the track where this light pole should stay to the left of your hood pin. So again, we're going to stay full throttle all the way through this corner, all the way until we get to our next reference point at the end. So, like the previous yellow line, you do not want to come down here on the flat track. It'll upset the car, and under full throttle, you will spin. But we can go up and we can ride that yellow line, cut a few hundredths of a second off, and we're going to let the car drift on its own all the way up to the wall. And this orange and blue sign is our next reference point. We want to be parallel with the wall as we approach this sign right here. So we're going to straighten up the wheel. We're going to get through that big bump. We're not going to fight the car. Okay. As we approach this orange and blue sign here, as we approach the edge of this sign, I'm going to start backing off. Okay. As you can see, I've already backed off the throttle, and when we get to the end here is when I'm going to start to turn in. And there you go. Now, I've already started to trail brake so I can help turn the car. We're going to slow down a little bit so we're not scrubbing speed and going through our tires quicker than we need to. So once we've got past that to the end of the sign here and we start our turn down, we're going to start trail braking. Like you can see, just a little bit, just enough to where you can hear the squeaking of the brakes. So we're going to start our turn in. Now this is the most difficult part of the track. It's just going to take lap after lap after lap and a lot of practice. So once we get the car slowed down and I feel comfortable, we're going to roll all the way down to this yellow line right here. And again, once I start to approach the yellow line, watch for the throttle. We're going to start to pick it up just a little bit. Okay, started to pick it up. Again, I'm not hammering down. I'm not hammering down. And my next reference is going to be this faded yellow line across the track. By the time I hit that line, I want to be straightening my wheel and under full throttle. So we're going to back this up all the way to the orange sign. And I'm going to go in full speed to that last point we were at. Okay. It comes pretty quick. And as you can see, the steering wheel, the blue center marker should never ever go outside of that round tack. If it does, you're going too fast. You need to start to brake. You need to slow down. Okay. So as we continue frame by frame, again, we're looking for this yellow line right here. We should already be straightening our wheel and full throttle. And we are. We're going to straighten our wheel enough to where we're not scrubbing off any unwanted speed, and we're going to drive all the way up to this line, our start finish line, as close to the wall as possible, making sure we're at least 88, 89 miles an hour. And there's our fast lap, 17,398. So one more time, we're going to parallel this guardrail. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts. We're going to start to turn in. There it is. End of the guardrail goes out of sight. We're going to take our foot all the way off the throttle. We're going to roll down to this yellow line. As we approach the yellow line, we're going to start to pick the throttle back up, and there we do. When we get to the end here, again, I'm not quite there. And then a lot of it is I'm running the iRacing setup, so it's not the best, but it's good enough for these demonstration videos. So once we go back full throttle, we're going to let the car come back to the center of the track. We're not going to fight it because we're going to spin and we're going to scrub speed. Full throttle all the way down to this yellow line. We're just going to barely touch it. We're going to straighten the wheel back, come back to center, parallel the wall. We're looking for that first edge of the orange and blue sign coming up on our nose. And when we get there, we're going to let off the throttle. And there you are. Consistency is key to all of these tracks and running fast. So as we approach it, again, the edge of the sign is out of my screen. I've let my foot all the way off the gas, and I'm going to start to trail brake to slow the car down. Let the tires turn the car. We're going to roll down to this yellow line. Once we approach it, we're going to roll back into the throttle a little bit, and we're going to just try to stay on the throttle, straightening our wheel and getting back under the throttle until we cross that yellow line. We're going to stay full throttle, straightening our wheel, paralleling the wall. And again, when we hit that checkered flag, we should be between 88 and 89 miles an hour